They do. So we are going to get started with Hinei Mal Tov, which is on, just one second, I will tell you. It is on page 128.
Hinei Mal Tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hinei Mal Tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm so happy to see all of you here, and I'm so grateful that you are here and willing to put up with the sun that is currently in a number of your eyes. I am hoping that the sun will set in just the right speed so that it will get out of your eyes sooner rather than later. For our Zoom unity, for our Zoom family, luckily that's one less thing that you'll have to worry about this evening. But we are on our way to the high holidays. We're getting there. We had Tisha B'Av a couple weeks ago, and now we are on our way to comfort and healing and hopefully all of the hope that comes with a new year. So we are going to get started welcoming our Shabbat with the lighting of the candles. And it is my pleasure to invite up Sarah and Jerry Ann to light our Shabbat candles. And the candle blessing can be found on 120.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch
you with the welcoming of Shabbat with some Kabbalat Shabbat Psalm action. We're excited to set the mood with the Psalms that rabbis long ago said, yes, these are the words that we want to bring Shabbat in with. And so we can find the words to Or Zarua from Psalm 97 on page 131. 132. I did it again. 132. Welcome the Shabbat bride with Lecha Dodi on page 138.
Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach, Shabbat, Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach. Let's sing that again. Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach, Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach, Shamor v'Zavor v'Dibur Echad, Ish Nihanu El HaMiuchad, Echad U'Shmo Echad, L'Shemo Tiferet v'Nitzilat, Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach, Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach, Likrat Shabbat Mechuer Elcha, Kihi Mekor HaMezacha, Merosh Mikem Lesucha, Shabbat 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 Tehila, Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach, Lecha Dodi, Ikat Malach, Shabbat, Omi v'Shalom, Atir Malach, Am B'Simcha, Toch Emunah, Bo'i Chala, Bo'i
Please be seated. And it's my pleasure to invite up Phyllis Wood to share with us a reading.
Teach me a blessing. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways.
We continue with the words of Baruch Hu on page 146. Please rise in either body or spirit.
La 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 Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed, Le'olam Va'ed. La-la-la-la-la, 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 la-la-la-la-la,
Please be seated. And we continue on the next page, about halfway down in the Hebrew, as we sing Borei Yom Valayla Golel Or Mipnei Choshech Uchoshech Mipnei Or. We bless God who brings darkness into light, and from light into darkness, from day into night, from night into another day. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei Yom Valayla, Golel on page 152 for the words of Shema. ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Emet. As we were singing the Ve'ahavta, I had this picture in my head of the Red Sea split, and the Israelites are walking through. But in my head, the two parts of the Red Sea, on one side you have the people who do Ve'ahavta, where at the end of it goes, da 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 da, and on the other side you do da 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 da, and we're walking right in the middle. But in reality, we are about to sing Mi Chamocha, which is a part of the Torah. Some scholars say that this poem is actually one of the oldest pieces of poetry that we have in the Tanakh, which is amazing because it's glorifying freedom. The Israelites had been slaves in Egypt for 400 years, for a zillion years. It's essentially the same equivalent. We use a lot of numbers that really just mean a really, 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 really long time. And then they get to the Red Sea and they're like, oh my gosh, we're supposed to be on our way to freedom, and here's this huge roadblock, a literal sea of water that is preventing us from getting to this freedom we're supposed to have, and the Pharaoh's army is on its way over, and then the sea splits. And then they walk through to the other side. We each have our own challenges that we're just like, oh my gosh, I just want to get to the other side. I just want to escape this. I just want to be able to go on the other side and sing, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. How amazing you are, Adonai, that I was able to get through this absolutely horrific whatever it is that you're going through. And the Jewish people have done it. We've gone through it before. Whatever it is that we are getting through, God willing, we will be able to get through again. Amen. And we'll be able to get on the other side and sing, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. We are on page 158 for the words of Mi chamocha. We take a moment before we sing the words of Hashkivenu to reflect on, usually we've been thinking about what kind of rest that we want this Shabbat. That's kind of been our practice this past month. And I encourage you to still think about that, but I want us to add an extra layer to that this evening, which is that in the Hashkivenu, we ask for a Sukkot Shalom, for a shelter of peace to protect us. And while that peace could be, a lack of war, it also can be protection from other things that we're trying to be protected from. Although it is making it a little bit harder to sing right now, I feel as though our masks are a shelter of peace. Amen. They are protecting us, and they are a gift to us, and we hope that we'll be able to find other shelters of peace that will keep us safe and help us to get to another day. So let's take a moment this evening either to reflect on the rest that we are looking for this Shabbat, or the shelter of peace that you're hoping to get this Shabbat. So we'll take just a moment, a deep breath in, a deep breath out. And we're on page 160.
Hamid
we now come to the tefillah, the core of our service. So before we rise, I encourage you to take a moment to think about what is at the core of your prayers, what brought you in this Shabbat. What are the prayers that you need to say before you leave our prayer space this evening? We are on page 164 for the words of Adonai Svatai. Please rise in body and spirit. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol atah rav ve'hoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayim, emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melech, melech memit umechayeh, umatzliach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atal hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh u'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelu Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. And we are on page 178 for the words of Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha
moment for our own silent prayer. Please hold for a 40-second intermission.
Next time I'll plan out intermission music.
Welcome to this week's episode of Jews Clues. This week we are going to discuss the mystery of the missing paragraph. Have you ever lived your life and not noticed that something was missing until someone points it out? And then it's the first thing that you see every time you look at it? This week, we are going to discuss the Ve'ahavta, or as some understand it, the long form of Shema. Growing up, I always thought that the Ve'ahavta had two portions. Part 1, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, and so on. And part 2, Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai. That's what our Siddur indicates, and that's what we sang at services, so I didn't really think much of it. But when I was teaching religious school during my undergraduate studies, one of my co-teachers mentioned, but what about the other paragraph? What other paragraph? I thought to myself, she must be confused with some other prayer, except for she was not. I found out later that there actually is a missing paragraph, but who was this paragraph? And where did they go? I needed to know more. It turns out this missing paragraph comes from this week's Torah portion, Parashat Akev. It used to go between Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, that paragraph, and the Lema Antis Karu paragraph. It went a little something like this.
If you obey the commandments that I command you this day, loving Adonai your God and serving God with all your heart and soul, I will grant the rain for your land in season, the early rain and the late. You shall gather in your new grain and wine and oil. I will also provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and thus you shall eat your fill. Take care not to be lured away to serve other gods and bow to them, for then Adonai's anger will flare up against you, and God will close up the skies so that there will be no rain, and the ground will not yield its produce, and you will soon perish from the good land that Adonai is assigning to you. Therefore impress these my words upon your very heart, bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead, and teach them to your children, reciting them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up, and inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, to the end that you and your children may endure in the land that Adonai swore to your fathers to assign to them, as long as there is a heaven over the earth.
Some of these words don't sound that unfamiliar. We sing similar ones in another part of the Ve'ahavta. But other words were a little off-putting. What is this nonsense about rain and drought, responding to how angry God is? It seems as though God must be really angry right now. It reads like, if you follow God's commands, then God will reward you and you will be able to eat. But if you don't follow the commandments, beware of God's anger. You will die. And that's just not really my idea of how God works or how I want to relate to Judaism. It turns out that Jewish reformers in the early 20th century agreed with me on that one. And for years, traditional prayer book updates had included additions to liturgy without taking out other parts, thus creating the beloved 4-hour service. Our Reformed forebears decided to take a different approach. As they created more modern and up-to-date prayer books for their time, they took out the parts of the prayers or even entire prayers for different reasons, including the following. Number 1, they disagreed with them. Number 2, the prayers didn't really match their evolved understanding of Jewish values. Number 3, they understood the prayers to be unenlightened or improper. Number 4, the prayers just seemed redundant. Didn't we just sing that like 5 minutes ago? We don't need another one. Thus, this missing paragraph of the Ve'ahavta was one of the many victims that went missing with the reform of the Reformed prayer book. This begs the question, are our Reformed predecessors the villains in the story? Are they secretly the heroes? Are they somewhere in the middle? Don't get me wrong, even as somebody who loves praying, I am very happy not to do 4-hour services. And I'm also happy to not spend my prayer time focused on how God is going to punish me for not doing what God wants. But that being said, by not only taking these prayers out of what we say during services, but also taking them out of what we can find in the Siddur, we may be missing out on the opportunity to engage with these texts and with other Jews who use them. Maybe we disagree with them. Maybe they're super problematic. But maybe we're supposed to be upset and to wrestle with them. And then later on, maybe reimagine them in a way that is incredibly important or meaningful to us. Reforming is messy work, and I'm not sure there is a right answer. But I want to leave us this week with a reimagined approach to this missing paragraph that we may not have understood if we didn't know about it. This poem excerpt is by Rabbi Arthur Waskow, written in 2003. If you listen, yes, listen to the teachings of Yud He Vav He, Adonai, the one breath of life, that the world is one, all its parts intertwined, then the rains will fall, time by time, time by time. The rivers will run, the heavens will smile, and the good earth will fruitfully feed you. But chop the world into parts and choose parts to worship, gods of race or of nation, gods of wealth and of power, gods of greed and addiction. If you do and you make without pausing, if you do without being, then the rain will not fall, or they'll turn to sharp acid. The rivers won't run or flood your homes and cities. The heavens themselves will take arms against you. The ozone will fail you. The oil that you burn will scorch your whole planet. And from the good earth that the breath of life gives you, you will vanish. Yes, perish. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Jews Clues. Join us next week as we talk about a new mystery. Where have all the good Jewish delis gone? And why do the ones left over put cheese on everything? Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbos, koach.
I had a little bit of fun with that
I have
one.
a new question that needs to burn in my mind now. All through this Shabbos.
So, we take this moment now. We take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. We transition into thinking about those who are in need of healing, healing of body, healing of soul. If you are thinking of someone who's in need of healing at this moment and you're on Zoom, please feel free to type their names in the chat. And for those of you who are in person, if you can share their names aloud as my hand passes over your section.
Siegel and Adrian Brown.
Avigail bat Sarai Manu, Naomi Batina, Shalamit Batina, Shait Hamid, Nahid Maruf, Yosef Ben Shira, Baruch Ben Goldi, Carol Gould.
For all those names that we've said aloud and those that we've kept in our hearts and those that we've typed in the chat, we wish them a refuah shlema as we sing the words of Misha Berach on page 371.
Such rain, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Aleinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We continue on page 586 with the words of Aleinu. Please rise in either body or spirit.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו להם, וגורלנו ככל עבודה. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. נאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. There are stars up above. So far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest nights, these are the stars that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This evening, we remember congregants and family members who have been called to their eternal rest in recent days. This week, we are observing Shiva for Elaine Nagel, longtime member of our community. And we remember Carol Bitter, who we are observing Shloshim, the 30-day period since burial. And Carol Bitter is the mother of Arlen Peavy. On this Shabbat, we remember those whose yahrzeit passed this past week. Please rise as your loved one's name is read. Linda Cohen, wife of James Cohen. Beth Kaufman, sister of Susan Toth. Leon Lurch, father of Phyllis Wood. Sophie Rothstein, mother of Wanda Rothstein. Sophie Sperberg, remembered by Wanda Rothstein. Jerry Schwartzman, father of Gary Schwartzman. Bela Wagner, remembered by Gary Schwartzman. Natalie Weinstein, mother of Jack Weinstein. Zichronam livracha. May the memories of all of these people be for a blessing. We turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. We rise as a community. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabba. Be'alma divrach irute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mavarach le'olam u'almei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudshah richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemayim. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. And we also acknowledge the 612,000 lives our country has lost from COVID since the beginning of the pandemic. Please be seated. To invite up our trustee president to share the announcements.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I actually have a number 0 announcement here today because I was sitting here and I realized if everyone would like to look up at the sanctuary building, you can see the new cameras that got installed this week. We have 10 new security cameras. Thank you again to everybody in the congregation who helped make this happen. Following tonight's service, the social hall will be open so you can browse the remaining books from Rabbi Shulman's collection. This will be the last week that they will be there, and it continues to go down. You're welcome to take any that interest you. There are both Judaic and non-Judaic books. Please wear your mask to enter, use the hand sanitizer, and limit to only 10 people in the social hall at a time. Join us next week on Friday, August 6th for our multi-access Shabbat service at 7:30 p.m. Reservations are required to attend in person. You can RSVP by clicking the link in the weekly emails or on the website or by calling the office. Masks are mandatory and our COVID guidelines will be enforced. Again, no RSVP is necessary to attend on Zoom. Rabbi Zoe and the worship committee are finalizing plans for high holiday services. Please watch the weekly on our website for more information. WTBT is already accepting forms for the annual High Holy Day greetings. Please see the weekly for a link to the details, and please submit your family's greetings. And thanks to Ann Anderson, Janine Charlton for representing worship, and to Tony and Cindy Monroe for being the AV team this week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And as always, he never thanks himself. We thank Rick for
Thank you,
the
Rick.
work that he continues to do. I guess it would be kind of weird if he was thanking himself. I, Rick, thank myself for all the work that I do for this temple. I think we should start it. I think that's a great idea.
Each board member can simply stand up and first acknowledge their own awesomeness before going on and
I
continuing with their
personally thank
awesome.
myself, Rabbi Zoe McCoon, for all the hard work that I do. Okay. With that silly note, one of the places that we can be silly is our families. And we're about to do the family blessing. So if you would like to reach out to family, whether they are biological family, honorary family, reach out to them and we share a musical rendition of the family prayer.
God bless you and keep you. Shine a light on you and be gracious to you. May God's face turn to you. Grant you peace. Shalom.
Amen. We continue with Kiddush and have a special present for you. For those of you who are interested in actually drinking some wine after you bless it, we have some wonderful representatives of our worship committee who are
Thank you, sir.
who are passing this out. I do ask that if you are going to partake in our grape drink, that you only momentarily take your mask down. Don't do it while we're doing the prayer. Just like take your sip and then put your mask right back on. That is my big request, just for safety, so that we are protecting ourselves and others. If you are on Zoom, if you want to go quickly grab your own grape beverage or perhaps some other sweet drink, you're more than welcome to do so. You have approximately 3.5 seconds is, I think, the scientific amount of time that we have left. And we're on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav ve'atzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
לחיים.
Ooh, I got last week's.
And now for this week's challah reveal.
Wait.
Oh, wow, so beautiful. And we shall bless this beautiful challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Okay. Thank you all. And we are going, thank you. We are going to end Shabbat. Not end Shabbat, but end our Shabbat.
Just barely started.
Service, it's fine, it's my water bottle. We're fine, we're feeling jazzy. It's the Shabbat spirit, so we're going to end on a Don Olam, because what's more jazzy than that? Yeah. We're on page, 625.
We haven't done this in quite a while, our salsa version of Adon Olam. As we were joking before the service could lead to dancing. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Adonai asher malach b'terem kol yetzirah ve'et nasa v'chasoko azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kikotato levado yimach Torah ve'hu haya ve'hu hoveh ve'hu yeh b'tikara. La 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 la. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי ראשית ולקחים, ולא העוז והמשנה, והוא אלי וחי כהני, וצורכב לי ואין שרת, והוא ניסי ומנוסי, מנת כוסי ביום אחד. לה 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 לה. La 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 la. בידו הקידוחי, עם תשעת והעירה ועם רוחי, ידיעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la. Adon Olam. Good Shabbos.
Shalom, everybody.
Da da da.